time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Oh, yes, it does. And great to have you with us on this Monday edition of the show. All across America, all over the world, and Canada. I had to put up my chair. I got these arm things on the side. Don't like them. We got a lot to do over the next 60 minutes, as we do every day on this show. We'll be joined by Brian Twining a little later on. Talk to him about the NASCAR regular season concluding in Daytona with Ryan Blaney getting a win there. We'll also get some thoughts from our friend Bill Bender, who does a great job on college football, all things football with the Sporting News after the weekend in college football. Yes, there was a weekend in college football, the big portion of it taking place on the other side of the pond. And we're going to start things in the NFL. We got baseball to talk about, the Tour Championship. We're going to get to all of it over the next 60 minutes somehow. Today is a day where we need 2 hours, Sam Yarnell. We need 2 hours today. That's how busy of a show we have for everybody. But we're going to jam it all in. Start with the NFL preseason. It's over. It's done. And we've got a lot to get to. There have been a lot of moves and a lot of activity from where we were on Friday when we left everybody to where we are today. One of the big headlines is obviously, and we've been following it throughout the preseason, is Shedeur Sanders. He makes the team. He is part of the final roster, as it would be. Or it seems he's going to be part of the roster anyway, as Tyler Huntley, Snoop, was cut by the Cleveland Browns. He played terrible, by the way, not Huntley. Shedeur had an awful game on Saturday night in the final preseason game. And again, he's playing against like the third and fourth teamers and guys that are fighting for jobs. So maybe there is some more desperation there, but he gets sacked 5 times. He only completes 3 passes, 1 first down. Dillon Gabriel was far better in his time. So it would seem he has the upper hand right now in that battle for QB2 or QB3 or whatever the hell it is, Sam. Shedeur Sanders, Shedeur's brother, who we haven't talked about much during this preseason, got ejected from a game for throwing hands. So that's where we start things, and there was a lot of activity, trades, guys being released. Aiden O'Connell is on the street. Go ahead, Sam. Have at it.
It is the ugly season in the National Football League, Jason Page. Yeah, this is when, hearts get broken left and right and dreams are crushed. Yep. And there's nothing good that comes of the last week in August in the National Football League. So Shedeur probably going to make the team because these Cleveland Browns, man, they're addicted to doing crazy stuff. 4 quarterbacks on your opening day 53-man roster.
4 spots.
As far back as I can tell, I think it's the first time a team's done this in 20 years, but I'm not sure. Don't hold me to it. It's a really hard thing to research. I came to find that out very quickly. But yeah, the last time I saw a team that went into week 1, their opening week 53-man roster had 4 quarterbacks on it, who none of whom were on injured reserve. I think it was 2005.
What team was it? Can you tell me?
I think it was the Buffalo Bills in 2005.
Really? Wow.
Which Buffalo Bills fans will remember were the years leading up to J.P. Lossman, the forgotten son. Anyway, I digress to the Sanders point. Yeah, Shiloh, listen, you go after a punter the way he did, you're going to get ejected from a football game. Simple as that. I don't care if it was a tight end playing punter. You went after the punter. The refs are going to protect the punter. On the subject of back to Shedeur for a minute, though, I do think, Jason, that we need to maybe just colloquially between you and I set a line of how long Shedeur Sanders actually lasts on the Cleveland Browns roster. You mentioned his horrible performance over the weekend against Los Angeles. The thing that stuck out to me was he took almost twice as many sacks as he had completions. That's unacceptable at any level.
Yeah. A lot of them, and a lot of them were.
If it's against 3s and 4s.
A lot of them were him hanging on to the football as well. Here's what I think the Browns think. I think they believe that the future quarterback battle in that city is Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. And I don't think they can cut from from that roster, Shedeur Sanders, until that battle has been realized. And I don't think a couple of preseason games for each of them is really telling of that battle. They have the placeholder in Flacco. They've got, the backup to Flacco, whose name is escaping me.
Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, Kenny Pickett. And Flacco's looked pretty good, by the way, here in the preseason. And I think he'll do a suitable job for what it is and what that situation is. But I think they view the duo of Gabriel and Sanders as the QB1 battle of the future, and they need to let that play out, even if it means keeping them on the roster. That's what I think. That's what I think they're doing.
I get it.
You cut Sanders, he goes somewhere and winds up being a star. You are dead. I mean, that franchise will never recover.
In theory, that makes sense. And even if that is the even if that is the reality of it, the practical answer is, okay, then let's not worry about Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett.
I agree. This is what I said. Remember, I said, let those guys play. If you suck this year, you suck. You're not winning anything anyway.
Sure, and I think that is the answer they need to go to if they truly believe that the quarterback battle of the future is Gabriel and Sanders. I think that there's a chance, Jason, that they wasted a 3rd and 5th round draft pick respectively on two guys who 2 months later they realized are both hot garbage. And they may have been sold a bad bill of goods on two different quarterbacks. So again, if you're going to have this whole quarterback battle thing, why are you wasting 2 other roster spots on your 53-man NFL roster with 2 other quarterbacks? It makes no sense.
We're in agreement. I think Gabriel can play. I think Gabriel's going to be all right. I don't know.
Sure, but then you don't need to sign Pickett and Flacco.
No, I agree. I said this weeks ago, Sam, on this show. I said they should just find out what these guys are. Let them play this year and find out. You're certainly not going to blow Sanders' confidence out of the water. That kid's got confidence for years. They can go 2-15 this year with him as the starter, and he'll be fine. Trust me. As long as he's got his bling to sell and Dad, rooting him on, from wherever, he's going to be all right. We didn't get to a lot of stuff here. Brian Robinson.
You wanted to mention Carson Wentz, and I mean, we have to,
it's
right?
fine.
Carson Wentz is the new backup in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So when J.J. McCarthy goes down, apparently he's going to, according to all these McCarthy haters, I guess that's going to be the new start.
We got baseball to talk about, and we're going to talk about it in just a couple of minutes. Big weekend for Cal Raleigh. Next. All right, from the NFL, we shift gears to baseball. I mean, it's the middle of the pennant races. You think we were going to leave baseball out of the show? Heck no, Sam Yarnell. Cal Raleigh, maybe inching closer to an MVP? He should be. And again, I'm not taking shots at Aaron Judge. I'm the biggest Yankee fan there is. All you got to do is watch this show enough, and you'll figure it out. Every time I mention the Yankees, Sam rolls his eyes at me. So believe me, it is what it is. Yes, there it is. But Cal Raleigh, the story of the weekend, setting the major league record for home runs by a primary catcher, basically, you could say. He hits home runs number 48 and 49. You see them there. As the Mariners hang around in this wild card race along with the Yankees and Red Sox, your 3 wild card teams right now. Aaron Judge right now is minus 200 to win the MVP. His number doesn't move. No matter, he's not hitting well right now. And his number isn't moving, Sam, which is perplexing to me. It's like it's just baked in at this point that Aaron Judge is winning the MVP as far as the odds makers go. I don't know how that number's not moving with the fact that he's not playing well and Raleigh just broke this record, Sam.
It's the New York tax. That's what it is. It's a good player playing in the pinstripes, the most public team in the world. But yeah, you're right, Jason. You're exactly right. This is a guy whose batting average Now, I am saying this, like the fact that I'm saying this is unique in and of itself and speaks to how good Aaron Judge is at playing baseball, however much it's oversold. His batting average is down to 324. Over the last 30 games, the guy is hitting 212.
Yeah.
A month of scraping the Mendoza line after everybody spent 5 months of this baseball season talking about how, is Aaron Judge going to hit 350 this season? Is Aaron, what's the over-under on his batting average at the end of the year? I mean, 360, 380? What are we going to do? No, because again, as always happens in baseball, and as I tried to tell all of these Yankees fans who were enamored with this guy for so long of meaningless regular season baseball.
Get it all out.
This is how it happens. He'll spend a month hitting at the Mendoza line. He'll finish with a great batting average, but it's not going to be some historic Ricky Henderson style batting average, right? We're not going to see Ichiro, the reincarnation of Ichiro, the contact hitter, as Aaron Judge. That's just not how baseball works. If you watch the sport for long enough, you understand that that's the case. Now, for the Yankees, they are incredibly fortunate that at the time that they've decided to seemingly go cold altogether as a team, except for last night, which is great because you don't want to lose eight games in a row to the same team. But the entire American League is taken after them. Like, except for the few teams that could pass them and them not be affected by it, those are the only teams that have been hot throughout this entire Yankee struggle. So they're going to be fine, Jason. And the fact of the matter is, if they win 90 games, if they win 90 games, Aaron Judge will be the MVP. Because he plays in New York, because his batting average, even if he hits 212 for the rest of the season, is still going to be 300-ish. And he's still going to hit, 45 homers conservatively?
Yeah, he doesn't deserve it. Cal Raleigh deserves to. This is a year where Cal Raleigh deserves. And look, maybe by the time we get to the end of the year, that number moves enough. And
I agree with you, but the voters don't.
I wonder. There's a part of me that thinks if the Mariners make the playoffs, Raleigh's. If you have two wild card teams, the Yankees and the Mariners, I wonder if the Mariners finish with a better record. Does Raleigh?
What are they right now? They're like a half game apart.
I mean, they're separated by
they're basically the same.
Yeah. So I mean, I think the argument is if the Mariners wind up with a better record, fairly or unfairly, on how all this crap gets judged by the voters, I think the Mariners would wind up being I think Raleigh would wind up being the MVP.
And I think that that's fair. I do. And this is.
I don't know if it's fair. Because look, you're talking two guys that are doing different things this year. Judge with what he's doing, with a higher batting average and playing in New York and all of this stuff. Look, I get it. I get the argument that people will make for Judge. The numbers, without any context, are there. Again, he's eating off a lot of what he did through the first 70 games of the year. But, again, at the end of the year, the numbers will be there to justify an MVP award. I just think if you look at everything in totality and in context, I think Raleigh deserves to win. That's where I am.
I do agree with you. Yeah. It's the good versus value argument, right? And the fact of the matter is this. Until 3 weeks ago, Jason, it was Cal Raleigh was the Seattle Mariners offense. Mm-hmm. That's all there was. Yeah. They went out and made a bunch of great moves at the deadline, which are going to power them to be a better team. But people are going to forget about the first 93, 95 games of the year when Cal Raleigh was all that team had at the plate.
All right, a minute each on the Tigers first, who, they hit a bit of a skid for a while. Now, again, they're playing in a division where that skid didn't mean as much because nobody in that division was going to catch them. But they're starting to play better baseball right now. Keep an eye on Detroit. Everybody thinks the AL is wide open. Maybe it's not as wide open as we think, Sam.
But you know what is wide open? The AL Cy Young. Tarek Skubal now minus 120.
Yep.
Garrett Crochet minus 110. Mm-hmm. This is going to be a race that's going to be fun to watch down the stretch,
I hope Skubal wins. I really do. I think he deserves it. I really do.
I agree, and I'll go back to the thing that when you and David Ardsman and I were talking about this a month ago, and I was like, yes, Skubal is your Cy Young. It's not. I'll stand by the same argument. He's got the best start of any major league pitcher so far this season, and you won't convince me otherwise.
One more minute, and let's spend it on Zach Wheeler being done for the rest of the year. Thoracic outlet syndrome. This is not good. We thought originally they were talking about a blood clot. Now it's thoracic outlet, Sam. Obviously, they're going to lose him for the rest of the year. So far, able to keep their heads above water as far as the NL East is concerned, but you have to wonder what it means for the playoffs. I know they've got other great arms. We've talked about them ad nauseum this year, but losing Wheeler is a big blow.
Beyond that, Jason, I'd give it about a 50-50 shot that Zach Wheeler throws another pitch in Major League Baseball. There are two kinds of thoracic outlet syndrome. This is not the bad one. That is not why I don't think he'll pitch again. This is the thoracic outlet syndrome Merrill Kelly had, not the one that Steven Strasburg had. However, Wheeler already said that he intended to retire after 2027. This puts him back in the middle to late part of 2026.
It's true. It's a very good point. But nobody wants to go out that way either. Competitor, I don't know. He's got a lot to think about for sure. Bill Bender joins us next. All right, back to football in segment 3 of the show. And to do that, we bring in our friend Bill Bender, who will be joining us Mondays during the college football season, which we are in the midst of college football season, Bill Bender. It is here.
I'm excited. Yeah, it's super excited. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. We always love to talk to you. Bill Bender from the Sporting News hanging out with us on the program to talk about the weekend in college football. And there was a weekend in college football, and the big star of that weekend was the Aer Lingus game over there in Dublin between Kansas State and Iowa State, and it didn't disappoint, Bill.
No, I don't know if it was a great game. It was certainly an entertaining game.
Right.
You had turnovers. You had gutsy call at the end by Matt Campbell. I think Kansas State had multiple missed opportunities on plus territory to score points. And then, maybe the Dylan Edwards injury factored into that. And then after the game, we have family drama with the Avery Johnson family. So it did not disappoint. You got to give Iowa State credit. I think that's a game that can really push them maybe to the top of the Big 12. They'll certainly be one of the favorites.
For people that don't know, explain the Johnson story, the family drama that you were referencing.
It appears that two family members were in a fight afterward. And, anytime alcohol was maybe involved, I don't want to speculate there, but it is Ireland. And, there was wet ground, a fight, and obviously frustration after Avery Johnson's a guy separate of that. You watch him play, and there are moments when you're like, wow, this guy is super talented. And then there are other moments where you're like, what happened there? And I think that inconsistency can be maddening with him at times. But I do see a talented kid with a lot of pressure on him. Also being propped up against Will Howard, obviously, because Howard was a guy that left Kansas State for Ohio State.
Yeah, it's very true. And Rocco Beck, while the completion percentage wasn't where you would probably like it to be, Rocco Beck obviously had himself a decent day with the 2 touchdowns in that game. Carson Hansen, 16 carries for 71 yards, sort of a running back by committee there in Iowa State in terms of what they're doing in the backfield.
Yeah, and they finally got to running the ball in the second half. First half, they only averaged 1.8 yards per carry. And once Hansen got going, it opened up a few things for Beck, who's figuring it out. Obviously, 2 1,000-yard receivers that are playing for the Texans now is what they lost. So they made some good play calls, and they responded. That was a good back-and-forth game. It seemed like every time Iowa State scored, Kansas State would score touchdowns, and it really came down to that fourth down call where Kansas State runs a quarterback sweep with Avery Johnson. They don't get a push. Iowa State makes the stop, and, the Cyclones come away. One thing to be concerned about, Jason, the teams that lose that game the last 3 and 4 years have had rough seasons afterwards.
Yeah, I always wonder when I watch college football early on in the year, and one of my pet peeves is the fact that they have no preseason, and they're just shot out of the gates with games, and some of them play easier games than others. So obviously that factors into what we see by the time we get to the end of the year, Bill. But it has to be so hard for these kids because no matter what you try to simulate in practice, having no real in-game experience, I always marvel every year, and I think it's why you're so prone to upsets in the first couple of weeks of the season with some of these teams, because some people have different training camps than others. Some teams have different training camps than others and different experiences.
And no preseason.
That's what I'm saying. No preseason.
Like, we can, as a Packers fan, I always rant and rave about how bad they look in a preseason game, but then that goes away pretty quickly because you're like, let's get it figured out before week 1. College football, you get in a half of a game like that where it's like you don't have a second week. I would use Hawaii as an example of that Saturday night. They weren't as sharp, and then they come back in that game against Stanford. That was probably the most entertaining game of the weekend, honestly, with the way they went back and forth in the fourth quarter. I do think Stanford's improved, but Hawaii was able to pull out that win.
Real quick, in just 30 seconds, because I have another topic I want to get to with you. Do you think college football should do more of these international games than just the one here at the beginning of the year?
Not really. And I know there might be plans to go to Germany or South America or Mexico. But, if you're a college team, I think it creates a lot of headaches for those teams. I do enjoy the Dublin game. I do, as a standalone. But if we get to 4 and 5 in week 0, okay, I think it'd be an issue.
All right, fair enough. Bill Belichick and North Carolina, they are going to be doing a docu-series with Hulu, basically sort of a Hard Knocks type thing. I got to be honest, when I saw this, it surprised me, and it doesn't feel like something Belichick would have wanted to do. Maybe it almost feels like something that would have been forced upon him, given his history. I don't know. You tell me what you think.
Well, we're in the entertainment business, and it's fitting because Lee Corso retires this week.
Yeah.
And I've got a big, long story about his 1999 season coming where he didn't miss a headgear pick. And one of the stops along the way, here's the great irony, they went to Michigan State that year, and Nick Saban let the cameras in ahead of a game against Michigan. And so I kind of feel like that, how I feel about Belichick now. This isn't the Patriots where it was like the Kremlin, and I'm not comparing them to Russia. I'm just saying there were a lot of secrets.
Oh, there we go.
And now I actually think he'll be a little bit more of an open book at the college game. It adds to the fascination. They're going to have game day there Monday night on Labor Day. Of all the games, I think Bill Belichick, if they beat TCU, I'm not trying to sound hyperbolic in any way, that could create the largest reaction if they look really good doing it.
Are they the Deion/Colorado of this football season? Is that basically what we're talking about? Like, Deion's going to feel lonely out there in Boulder this year. He doesn't have his boys out there with him. I think that team's going to in for a really rough season because the schedule is going to be a bit more challenging for them than it was last year when they beat up on some teams, with a favorable schedule. I feel like Deion's going to feel pretty sad and lonely out there.
Well, Friday night they play against Georgia Tech, and that's a huge game. But to your point about entertainment value, I'll say this. I've been, it's total change of subject, sort of. I've been watching that Cowboys documentary on Netflix, and like I said, huge Packers fan. It is absurdly good, absurdly entertaining, if that's what you want, between Jerry and Jimmy and Deion and Irvin and Aikman. And that's what Deion understands. Now, is Bill Belichick the most entertaining presence in college football? Probably not, but I think we appreciate the skill and the X's and O's and seeing if this is going to work with Gio Lopez, who my son pointed out to me this morning. He said,
wow.
I watched him a little bit at South Alabama. He's pretty good. So if a 14-year-old is excited about Belichick, maybe we all can be.
I can't wait. Pick me a national champion before we get started here.
Well, I got Ohio State and Texas starting the season and ending the season. I think they're built to do both. And I actually think one could win Saturday and the other could win the other game. So That's kind of my pick. That's kind of a hedge, but I'll take it.
Bill Bender, Sporting News. Check him out. He does great work there. Thanks, Bill.
Hey, thank you.
All right, some more football here. Halfway home on this Monday edition of SportsWrap. Let's talk some NFL. Only 2 divisions left, Sam Yarnell. Just 2 divisions left in our series called If Not, Then Who? Where we go through each NFL division, tell you who the favorite is, and then try to come up with a rationale for if not the team favored to win the division, then who would win the division. Today we focus our attention on the NFC South, Sam Yarnell. And in that NFC South, we take a look, and rightfully so, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are your favorites to win the NFC South this year. Over on FanDuel, they're going off at minus 105. The Falcons are plus 220. The Panthers are plus 410. And the New Orleans Saints come marching in at 13-1 plus 1,300. So Sam Yarnell, as I have done every day for the last 6 shows prior to this, I ask you, if not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, then who? About what I expect.
Nobody. I don't know. Can I bet the no, as I used to say on the program? I don't know, man. This is tough. Far and away the worst division in football. I don't think people would disagree with that.
Worst division in football. I want to marinate in that for just a moment.
Please.
AFC. I mean, the other one, the AFC South is pretty close.
The AFC South is bad.
Pretty close.
It pales in comparison to the NFC South.
Just saying.
I may have said the AFC South is the worst division in football.
Yeah,
We did the
we should
if
go
not,
check the
then
tape.
who on them.
We should go check the
but
tape.
I might have to retract that statement because what has to happen for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers not to win this division?
First team to 9 wins the division.
No. First team to like 6.
Oh, come on.
I think
It's
maybe
not gonna be
7.
Come on.
I don't. The Falcons are going into their first season of a full Michael Penix season, right? The Carolina Panthers, they're still rebuilding, and that's great for them. The New Orleans Saints are in purgatory, and that's not great for them. I say purgatory because I'm not sure if we're allowed to say hell on the show, but they're in hell.
You can say hell.
Yeah, the Falcons are like the only possible option, Jason. And I just physically can't sell myself on Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, not to mention Michael Penix. Not to mention Michael Penix, Kyle Pitts, who I did just draft in a fantasy draft yesterday.
Why?
And when I drafted him, I said to my counterparts in the meeting, I said, I'm drafting this player because I hate myself.
You really do. You are a glutton for punishment because every year I think is going to be the year Kyle Pitts breaks out and it never happens.
And Kyle Pitts isn't a tight end on a division-winning football team. So what are we doing here?
What are we doing here? It's exactly the question we should all be asking. I'm surprised the number on Carolina is as good. 350? That number feels very generous. They feel like more of a like plus 500, plus 600 team to me.
I want you to think about it like this, because we have already done this division which I am about to refer.
Look, it is a team that the defense is getting better on that team. And they do have a favorable schedule. So there is that.
Okay. All right. But hold on. They are just as big of a favorite to win their division in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers I'm talking about now at this point. I'm off the Falcons. They're so relevant lists to me.
Oh, boy. We're recording that.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are as big of a favorite to win their division as the Kansas City Chiefs. I might start putting in, I'm going to put in the parlay right now. Let's see what it pays out, Jason Page. Buccaneers, Chiefs, plus 295. Give me that. I'll be happy. I'll meet you in November when that cashes, maybe early December, but I'll pay for Christmas gifts with that money from that nice plus 295.
I actually like that. Actually, I think that is sage advice you have just given to our audience. We haven't mentioned the Saints. Do we have to? Should we? Can we?
We can mention them. So there was actually interesting news about the Saints at the end of last week that we barely got to talk about on the show. It wasn't quite about the Saints. It was more about Arch Manning, but that's who the Saints are headed for seemingly at this point. That's the only thing we can talk about him at this point. It seems like if the Saints aren't the worst team in football, Arch Manning is going to spend another year at Texas. If they are the worst team in football, Arch Manning will be a Saint the same way his grandfather was.
Look, for Atlanta, you're pinning it all on Michael Penix Jr. Good luck. Hey, Kirk Cousins is still there. Oh, we're out of time? NASCAR next. We wrap it up with odds and ends in 10 minutes, and there's a lot to get to in odds and ends today. It's just, like I said, we needed 2 hours for the show today, and we only get an hour, so that's what we have to work with. Every Monday and Friday on this show, we talk NASCAR. On Fridays, we do it with our friend Tino Patino from SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. You can see him on Tubi as well with his NASCAR picks. And we do it with this guy, Brian Twining. Bleacher Nation hangs out with us on the show to talk about NASCAR on Mondays, to recap after we've marinated in what has transpired, Brian. Ryan Blaney is he was the favorite going in, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't he? He was the favorite going into this race in Daytona, right?
Yeah, it was him and his two Penske teammates entered the week and closed the week as the favorites to win the race.
So Ryan Blaney is your winner in a wild finish in Daytona. What is the big headline that stands out to you? Alex Bowman gets one of the final playoff spots, avoids a wreck. It was hairy there late.
Yeah, I think the headline would be Tyler Reddick and Alex Bowman survive utter disasters. I mean, both of them being involved in wrecks early on seemed like their days were done. And it was kind of funny to see how the tides turned when Reddick got involved in a wreck. It looked like Bowman was going to pass him, and it looked like we were going to have a new winner. And then Bowman actually DNF'd after that, locking Reddick in, and then Alex having to sit there the entire race and pray for a previous winner to get to the checkered.
Yeah, it was crazy. And, another one of the big headlines that comes out of this is Kyle Busch. 2 back-to-back years. First time in his career that he's gone back-to-back years without making the playoffs here. What does it portend for him, when we start talking about, where his career is at this point? And I know there's the playoffs, and who knows, he could win in the playoffs. You never know. But what does it say about sort of now that we've gone through and the regular season is over? And, I remember Tino on Friday being like, he could win here. And I'm just like, Tino, he's not winning. It's just not happening. We'd all like to see it, but it's not happening. Yeah. I mean, I'm based in Vegas. I would love to see him win. What does it say now sort of about what is next for him?
Yeah, there's kind of this underlying rumbling within the community itself that once guys kind of age into the late 30s, early 40s into the sport here, you kind of see them take a step back in terms of winning races. They can still be competitive near the front, but finding the checkered flags just they just don't find those anymore. I mean, we saw it with Martin Truex Jr. last year. He had so many problems there. Kevin Harvick at the end of his career, he could run as a top 5 car, but he could never get to the finish line. And Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski, I think, are the best examples of that right now, where they're just not able to win races. They can still be competitive in spurts, but not consistently.
All right, so we are through the regular season. We've gotten through our Kyle Busch conversation. What do you see as you look ahead here to the playoffs with this 16-driver field that is qualified for the playoffs? What sort of activity do you expect here?
Yeah, I think the opening round is going to be a really intriguing one because with having both Alex Bowman and Tyler Reddick starting but below the cut line, both of those guys I fully expect to be very competitive cars here in these first 3 races, with Darlington, Bristol, and then Gateway coming in here in this first round. So obviously it's got to push people out. I mean, Austin Cindric, Ross Chastain hasn't been consistent this year. And then Joey Logano, like what 22 are we going to see here in the opening round as well?
Yeah, I don't know if you just in this rant mentioned Kyle Larson too. It's like feels like Kyle Larson's been quiet for a while here, Brian.
Yeah, he has, but I mean, with him sniping all these fastest laps during the races when he's 50 laps down, he enters the playoffs as the number 1 seed, and he can just kind of coast through here. He just has to avoid disasters on multiple occasions.
But does it feel like fine? He can coast and all of that, but does he feel like a guy that's actually going to win this thing?
Right now, I would say no.
That's my thought.
Yeah, for me, entering the playoffs right now, I think the favorites would have to be Ryan Blaney and Denny Hamlin. I think just because Hamlin has shown the ability to win races, Blaney is coming off of a win at Talladega or at Daytona, where he's been the fastest car at numerous tracks this year. But a guy like William Byron, people are going to point to him, but his only win came at a super speedway. If you can't find the checkered flag, you're going to have a hard time winning the championship, which is rewarded and awarded to the guy who wins races, not just gets by.
All right, make the argument for Shane Van Gisbergen.
Well, look, he says he loves Darlington. He said it earlier in the year. It was his favorite oval. So if he can just perform there, do okay, and then survive Bristol at the end of this round, and then we got the Roval. That's all I got to say. A round of 8 berth is definitely happening. I'm going to say that right now. Shane Van Gisbergen is getting to the round of 8.
It's nice that he loves Darlington. I love Central Park in the spring. I still can't afford to live there. So that's all I have to say about that. Last note before we go. It was the worst kept secret in NASCAR, but Connor Zilisch getting a spot with Trackhouse. We mentioned Shane Van Gisbergen. He's part of that Trackhouse team. When you look at sort of the progression of Connor Zilisch, feels like he's ready for this, right?
Yeah, we've said something similar about a lot of rookies coming into the sport, but Connor Zilisch seems to be the most polished. Super good at road courses, probably the biggest contender to Shane Van Gisbergen next year on road courses. And Connor has already proven to be really good at ovals already too. So
19 years old though. Wow.
Amazing. Yeah.
Full-time ride. I'd be crying too if I was him and his parents. I'd be crying.
Yeah,
I'd be in tears too. How much money? How much money does he make?
I was just gonna say, life-changing money is headed his direction with the sponsors that he already has locked in with Red Bull backing him right now.
Great stuff. Brian Twining, Bleacher Nation, check him out there for NASCAR, football as well. Appreciate you, my man.
Take it easy, Jason.
All right, we don't have a second to waste for odds and ends today, so I'm going to tell you real quick. Subscribe to the podcast. It's available on every podcasting platform. 45 minutes commercial-free Monday through Friday. Spotify, anywhere you get a podcast, you can subscribe. We also have the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. If you are not subscribed to that, go and do so. You can watch the show there along with Sports Wrap shorts every day of the week. And without any further delay, time for some odds. And ends! Sam Yarnell, odds and ends. Tommy Fleetwood, he's done it! We can stop talking about Tommy Fleetwood being the greatest player to never win a PGA Tour event. He wins the Tour Championship yesterday. Why are you going to take a hot, steaming, what on Tommy Fleetwood winning the Tour Championship? And I have a feeling I know exactly, and we have not pre-discussed this. I do that on purpose. I have a feeling I know what you are about to say because I know you, Sam Yarnell.
100%.
I know you well. Why are you going to pour cold water on Tommy Fleetwood's amazing accomplishment?
Tommy's been playing great golf. Yes, he's been playing great golf for a month now. No doubt about it. I 100% respect Tommy Fleetwood's game and the people who bet on Tommy Fleetwood this week. Congratulations, great ticket that you cashed.
I did so in a prediction market.
Changed the rules.
By the way, I did it in a prediction market for the first time.
Attaboy. Yeah. Because the tournament decided to change the rules because Scotty won it last year and they didn't want that to happen again. Had the tournament remained in the format to which we had all become accustomed, the format which was fun, the format where it was beneficial to actually win tournaments throughout the year, Scotty Scheffler would have won by a stroke. Tommy Fleetwood would have come in second place.
The fallacy of the
just like happened the other week.
Come on.
again, Tommy's been playing great golf. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. Scotty Scheffler should have won this tournament.
Hold on. Producer telling me in my ear. Patrick Cantlay is still standing over a putt on the 12th hole. He's tapping his feet repeatedly like a duck. And he still missed the putt. Okay. And Brian Harmon is right behind him, by the way. The two slowest guys, and Wyndham Clark. If you put those three in a threesome, it's a 7-hour round. 7 hours! I can't stand you, Patrick Cantlay. Miserable human being, too, by the way. Just unbelievable. Yeah, go wear your Ryder Cup hat, Patrick. I hope he's not on the team. It will almost make me root against the Americans if Patrick Cantlay is on that Ryder Cup team, Sam.
Patrick, if you want to come on the show,
no,
I'll do the interview myself.
Banned for life. All right. If you missed it last night, I thought the argument, by the way, you were going to make on Fleetwood, I thought the argument you were going to make on Fleetwood was the fact that it was only a 30-player field. Because that one is the other one that I'm like, if you're going to go after something.
That one holds less water to me because it's the 30 best players.
Well, it's the 30
like
best
30
at that
guys.
point. Yeah, I know. I mean, Seb Straka, really. Anyway, to tennis last night. Daniel Medvedev lost his mind, and he almost wound up beating Benjamin Bonzi last night over at the U.S. Open in the opening round, which was played on Sunday. First time they've had the opening round begin on a Sunday, a day earlier. All the favorites won, except Medvedev, who didn't get through a first round in 3 of the 4 majors this year, 3 of the 4 Grand Slams this year. Rough year for Medvedev. He lost his mind. He smashed a racket to pieces after losing the match. Just bizarre things going on at the U.S. Open last night, Sam.
Yeah, so this horrible look for tennis. I mean, tennis really, as a sport, just cannot stop throwing up all over itself. I am begging you, tennis, just please stop. Golf is just laughing because you're so far in the rearview mirror in terms of relevancy. This is horrible. I mean, you saw all the clips that came out after. Yep. Apparently, this umpire's absolutely awful, and there have been players who have complained about him before.
Yeah,
they revoked this credential for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, I thought that was bad.
Because some guy made a very honest mistake. They fined the kid $150,000 for the meltdown and then make it more public than anything less than 12 hours after it happens. I mean, it was just so poorly handled from just about every angle. Even the Bonzi guy who was waiting to serve, he could have served for about 6 minutes. Yep. While he was just standing there with the ball.
Yeah. Photographer, for people that didn't see it, the photographer ran out onto the court early.
Absolute meltdown.
The chair umpire screwed it up, gave Bonzi another first serve. The fans went nuts. All is said and done. Congratulations to Chinese Taipei. They are your winners of the Little League World Series. As I said last week on the show, they would. It didn't matter who they were playing. Look, I've had some people come at me on social media about this. I'm going to try and explain this as quickly as I can in 30 seconds. It is not so outlandish to suggest that Chinese Taipei had a pitcher on their team that may not have been 12 years old, okay? It's not that crazy to suggest it because it happens in Little League Baseball, and it's been happening for years. There was the one obvious instance that everybody knows about involving the Almonte kid. Who was on the team from the Bronx that was stripped of its Little League World Series championship. It's not as if this hasn't happened before. If I was suggesting something that was so outlandish, it would have never happened before. Chinese Taipei was going to win regardless. They were the best team in this tournament, but don't think it's crazy to suggest that this kid who was pitching for them yesterday wasn't 12 years old. It's not crazy. We got to go. We're out of time, Sam. Thank you. Bill Bender, Brian Twining, all of you for watching. I'm Jason Page. We'll see you back here on Tuesday.